Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today in this fourth part of heredity and evolution, we will be studying different evidences of evolution. We shall study about some evidences of organic evolution. In last lecture, we have already seen that organic theory of evolution is the most accepted theory as it answers many questions like how life came into existence, how various forms are developed, and how more competent species come into existence. Now we will see that some proofs which are available in our surrounding in support of the theories of this organic evolution. Total 6 evidences are available in support of the theories of organic evolution. So that evidences are number 1 morphological evidences, number 2 anatomical evidences, third one vestigial organ, fourth paleontological evidences, fifth one connecting link, and the sixth one is embryological evidences. Now we'll see one by one. See, the first evidence is morphological evidence. Okay, in this morphological evidences, morphology means the external appearance of plants and animals. So if you will observe the structure of these animals and the plants, then you will find many differences among them. Means in these three animals you can find many differences, but in spite of this all the differences they are having some similarities also, like structure of mouth, position of eyes, structure of nostrils and air pinna, and the thickly distributed hairs on the body. So these similarities indicates that all the animals have been evolved from a common ancestor, means they have common origin or they have been evolved from a common ancestors. Okay. Similarly, if you will compare, if you will observe these three types of plants in the picture, then you can see many differences in that fruit as well as the height, at the same time the color and the shape of the fruit. But in spite of that differences, these plants also having some similarities. With that similarities are leaf shape, leaf venation, leaf petiole, etc. So this similarity, it indicates that they have a common ancestor or they have been evolved from a common ancestor or they are having common origin. Okay. So these morphological evidences, it support the theory of organic evolution, means it only tells us that animals have been evolved from a common ancestor and plants have been evolved from a common ancestor, means their origin are same. In this way, morphological evidence support the theory of organic evolution. The second evidence is anatomical evidences. So in these anatomical evidences, we have to study about the bony structure of the animals. In this picture, if you will observe this picture carefully, then you can see there is one bony structure of human arm, a bull's leg, a bat's wing and a whale fin. Okay, but there is nothing in common, means there is no similarity in common. They all perform different functions in their respective animals, since their functions are also different, means they have modified to perform the particular function, and that's why there is no similarity in the bony structure of that animals. But when we will observe it carefully, then we are able to establish similarities in the bones of these different organs and their joints. Means we can find the similarity in their joints, and this similarity only indicates that they have been evolved from a common ancestor, means they are having common origin. So in this way, anatomical evidence also strongly support the theory of organic evolution. Third evidence is vestigial organs. Some organisms possesses non-functional structures which in other organisms have essential functions. So, vestigial organs are non-functional organs, but these organs are functionless in one organism but may be functioning in others. So the organs which are functionless in one organism but may be functioning in others are called as vestigial organs. So the definition of vestigial organs are degenerated or underdeveloped useless organs of organisms are called as vestigial organs. Then how these vestigial organs are formed? In living organisms, sudden development of new tissues or organs for living in changing environment is not possible. Instead, existing organs undergo gradual changes. Mostly, a specific structure in the body is useful under certain situation. Okay, so we have here different vestigial organs that we will study. In human beings, there are about 100 vestigial organs which are still present, and we will see which that vestigial organs are which are useless for the human beings but still they are functioning in other organisms. The appendix is a useless organ in human beings, but it is useful for ruminants. Which are the ruminants? Cows and buffaloes. So the function of the appendix is, the main function of appendix is to digest the cellulose, and this cellulose it is present in uncooked food, means in more proportion it is present in uncooked food. So now we are eating cooked food, so there is no use, there is no requirement of digestion of cellulose, and that's why this appendix is not required now in human beings, but it is useful for the ruminants because they are consuming more cellulose, and that's why appendix is called as vestigial organ in human beings. Tailbone, which is also called as coccyx, is one of the vestigial organ in human beings, because we know that human beings have been evolved from the monkey, and now we have only reduced tailbone and which is of no use, but this tailbone it is functioning in the wisdom teeth are also considered as one of the vestigial organs present in human beings. In our Marathi mother tongue, we call this wisdom teeth are akkaldaad. Correct? And this wisdom teeth comes at the age of, means after the age of 19 years. And actually, the function of these wisdom teeth are none. They are functionless, but they are functioning in other organisms. Presence of hairs on the body and presence of air pinna are also one of the vestigial organ in human beings, because they have no use, means they are functionless, but they may be functioning in others. For example, this air muscles or air pinna it is useful for the monkey for movement of their airs. Okay, but in the human beings it is of no use, and that's why it is considered as vestigial organs. So this evidences advocates that monkey and man have a common ancestor. So these vestigial organs they support the theory of organic evolution. Fourth evidence is paleontological evidence. The paleontology means the study of fossils. Okay. So fossil means the remains of plants and animals which got buried inside of the earth because of some disasters. That disasters may be flood, earthquake and volcano. So these remnants of plants and animals which got buried inside of the earth and which became hardened, and they leave their impression there inside of the rocks, that impressions which are preserved underground are only called as fossils. So remnants and impressions of such organisms remain preserved underground are called as fossils. In paleontology, fossils are studied. So fossils are collected from different levels of the depth. For that, earth is excavated. A systematic study of these fossils and its occurrence revealed that the deepest layer which was found was the layer of the animal of invertebrates, and in layer above them were found prehistoric fish-like animals, then amphibians, reptiles, birds, and the mammals, respectively, in that order. This suggests that the invertebrate came into existence first on the earth, then the mammals at last. Means this suggests that perhaps this was the order in which the animal appeared on the earth. Fifth evidence which can support the theory of organic evolution is the connecting link. So the organisms referred to as connecting links are those which are structurally intermediate between two different groups. It means some plants and animals show some morphological characters by which they can be related to two different groups. Here group means the phylums. Okay, means they shows some characters from one phylum while some from other. So they are the intermediate between two different groups, and that's why they are called as connecting link. Connecting link can be found among the organisms that are still living, means that are still present. For example, if you are taking peripatus. So in this picture you can see it is a picture of peripatus, and this peripatus, it has segmented body, thin cuticle, and parapodia like organs, or we can say parapodia like appendages as in Annelida. At the same time, it has tracheal respiration and open circulatory system which is similar to the arthropoda. So peripatus, it can be considered as a connecting link between Annelida and arthropoda. Duckbill platypus lays eggs like reptiles, and it has hairs on its body and mammary glands like mammals. So duckbill platypus is referred to as a connecting link between the reptilia and mammals. So it is the intermediate structure between the mammals and the reptiles. Lungfish, though a fish breathes air through its lungs. These organisms point strongly to the fact that mammals have evolved from the reptiles and amphibia from the fishes. Sixth evidence which can support the theory of organic evolution is the embryological evidence. Embryology deals with the study of development of an organism from an embryo. The comparative study of embryos of different generation of vertebrates exhibits certain interesting facts. The embryos in their early stages of development show a great deal of similarities, means they look similar to each other, almost similar to each other, but different in the later stages of the development. This suggests that they have been evolved from a common ancestor, means they have common origin.